Yet again, the New York basketball team rallying back, and they now move on the brink of an advancement to the Final Four in the East, as they are a win away from the first Eastern Conference final appearance in 25 years. That's a generation of suck for the Knickerbockers, but they are on the brink of doing that as the reigning champions of the NBA, the Boston Celtics. They are staring down the barrel of an elimination situation. They lose by 8 on Monday night. The Knicks were down 14 in the third quarter. Yet another blown lead by the Boston basketball team. And so what is the setup? Game 5 is on Wednesday back in the Commonwealth, and the setup is there have only been 13 teams that have come back from a 3-1 deficit. That's it, 13 teams from a 3-1 deficit. And so Boston, if they want to do this, they have to be the 14th team. My Maller math tells me to come back, and they're going to have to do it. We are 99.9% sure without Jayson Tatum, who had to be carried off the court, then used a wheelchair. But unlike Paul Pierce, who pooped his pants, Jayson Tatum did not poop his pants. He had a right leg injury with 2:58 to go in the basketball game as he was withering in pain on the court, hopped off the court. And if you have watched sports at all for any amount of time, chances are you are going to come up with the same diagnosis that everyone's come up with. Now, there's no official confirmation that I've seen, and if you've seen it, that's fine. I haven't seen anything. I was looking around. I didn't see any official confirmation. I'm not a doctor, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express years ago, and so I will give you my radio diagnosis here in a minute. 99.9% sure, pop goes the Achilles, unfortunately. MRI is scheduled for later on Tuesday. So let us discuss the question. If these reports are true, if true, and Jayson Tatum is out for the series and for the long run, does this officially end Boston's title defense? Is this it? Are they cooked at this point? So I've got Buckingham Palace, Owen Wilson, and Tabernacle. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to have a pity party, which the Celtics can all show up to. They can have a nice little pity party. So, to answer the question, if Tatum did suffer the injury that everyone's pretty sure he suffered, although not 100%, if that's the case, at this hour, does it end Boston's title hopes? And to that, I will say, is the new Pope a White Sox fan? Yes, I think, yeah. So that's a rhetorical question, obviously. It's game, set, and match. If this was Monopoly, Jalen Brunson and the Knickerbockers would pass go, collect $200, and a fast pass to the Eastern Conference Finals. You can even crank up, if you want, the classic from Willie Nelson, who just had a birthday. Turn out the lights, the party's over. Oh, yeah. And then some. And so the Celtics, in this era of one-win champions, and then you fade into oblivion, it would appear that that is the track, that is the dimension that we are in. In a different dimension, Jayson Tatum finishes the game, doesn't get hurt, and the Celtics come back, although they were down 9 at that point, they come back and win the game. But in the dimension that we're in, Tatum suffers the Achilles injury and just a one-win title team, and Jaylen Brown and the Celtics can get together. They can have a team get together at a nice boutique inn on Martha's Vineyard, a cozy bed and breakfast, because it appears these Celtics are dining on one thing and one thing only, a Kellogg's product that would be Rice Krispies, Snap, Crackle, and Pop for the Boston Celtics there. The Celtics in the process, you talk about a change here. The Celtics in a process of an ownership change with Jayson Tatum likely out most, if not all, of next season. So he's gone next season. Think of this like, if you will, the Celtics all of a sudden deciding we're going to visit Buckingham Palace and we're going to witness the changing of the guard, because that's what's going on in the Eastern Conference. It opens things up. Obviously, this year it opens things up, and I mean, we're looking, barring some kind of really awkward situation here, Indiana and New York in the Eastern Conference Final. So one of those two teams guaranteed to go to the finals. My Maller math tells me that. So expect to see 7,000 different shots of Reggie Miller and the old Pacer-Knicks matchups back, a million years ago when they actually used to play each other in the playoffs on a semi-regular basis. And it also opens things up down the line. You look at the offseason wheeling and dealing, and if the Celtics are cooked because the new ownership's going to force some contracts to leave and Tatum will be out, all of a sudden the Celtics, at the very least, they go down to a middle-of-the-pack Eastern Conference team next season, and that opens things up for some of these other pretenders to go out. And Pat Riley goes out and get Giannis in Miami, and all of a sudden the Heat are back near the top. All right, now, turning the page on that, what are the long-term implications? We went over some of them, but what are the other long-term implications for Jayson Tatum if he did shred his Achilles? Like, what? Put into context for him and for everyone involved. So the first name that popped in my head when I was watching this, Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla. Yeah, that's the first name, the coach. Because this Jayson Tatum injury, where he goes down, snap, crackle, pop, for Joe Mazzulla, it is like an old Owen Wilson comedy from over a decade ago, Hall Pass. This is it wasn't a good movie, but it's a Hall Pass for Joe Mazzulla. He'll get immunity. Management will overlook his faux pas in coaching. Now, listen, coaching, there's not a lot in the NBA compared to other sports. It's pretty low on the big board of impact and whatnot, but there were a number of what-are-you-doing moments in this Celtic run. It reminds you a couple years ago when we gave Joe Mazzulla the nickname, let him play Joe, Sleepy Joe. He was kind of sleeping on the sidelines, and he did morph back into let him play Joe in this series. It's arcade basketball. It's the old school, going to the arcade, playing Pop-A-Shot. You put a token in, and you put another one and another one over and over and over and over. There were no meaningful adjustments. It is an indictment of the Celtic franchise. They blew two 20-point leads. It's a much different conversation if the Celtics are up 3-0 going into this game, which they had the lead. They blew out the Knicks in the game over the weekend on Saturday, and then you look at what happened the first two games in Boston. So there is a world where the Celtics win the first three, and then if Tatum still gets hurt, that's fine. You're still thinking, okay, we still get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But in this particular Game 4, outscored by 22 points. They went up 14 in the third quarter, outscored by 22 points to close the game. Jalen Brunson put on an absolute clinic with 26 points, 6 assists to close the game. And even when Tatum left, with 2:58 to go, Boston was down by 9. I guess we don't have any post-game sound, but what are the chances that Jayson Tatum makes a full recovery? So even the outlook is not great on that, and we're not 100% sure it's an Achilles, but we're 99.9% sure it's an Achilles. If it is an Achilles, the chances are slim and none that he makes a full recovery. There was just a study done last year. 37 players had suffered the Achilles injury going back decades in the NBA. Now, 78% of them did return. That's the good news. 78% of them did return. However, most players struggled to get anywhere close to where they were. Remember how terrible Kobe Bryant was at the end? That's one of the guys Jayson Tatum copies. And Kobe could not do anything at the end there when he was playing because he had the Achilles injury, and he was a shell of what he had been. He was also older. And the numbers indicate, and this tells you what has happened, not what's going to happen, that it's mostly the backups, that it's the reserve players that are able to come back and perform. 31% of players who returned from an Achilles injury were out of the NBA within 3 years. Now, again, a lot of those were older players. It's normally something that happens to someone's older, not in the prime of their career, so you have to factor that in. But yikes! Double yikes, if you will. All right, now, last word here. So I wanted to address this because it's a pet peeve of mine, and this is really my therapy. I don't pay for a therapist. I don't talk to anyone. I talk to you. You're the person that has to listen to me complain. I sit around. I'm very grateful to have a job where they want me to watch random games and then give my hot takes. What a great job. But occasionally, I want to pull the hair out of my head that is left on my head. And watching the Knicks at Madison Square Garden, I want to preface this. First of all, I'd like to curse. I don't think I'm allowed to. But what impact? Let me phrase it this way. What impact is Celebrity Row having on your judgment, your opinion of the Knicks in watching this? So these entertainment people, these entertainment elites that are given these seats courtside so they can get on television and the Knicks can make everyone think they're the coolest thing in town and everyone wants to be at the Knicks game, sitting courtside and all that. Major ick factor. And there they were again. Look, there's Cardi B. Oh, my. Benny Blanco. Oh, my God. Selena Gomez is there. Sting, Chris Rock, Ben Stiller. MSG, when it comes to the celebrity, is the tabernacle of worship. It's celebrity worship is what it is. Excessive admiration and to the level of obsession of the celebrity, putting them on a pedestal. And those aren't the real Knick fans. See, that's the thing. Like, and I got family from New York, whatever, fine. They're Knick fans sprinkled through my cousins and whatnot that are from that area. But watching Celebrity Row makes me want to puke in my mouth. Okay, I want to vomit in my mouth watching the Celebrity Row. I would like to. And it's one thing to show them once. How many cutaway shots did we get? Like, did somebody at ESPN say, okay, let's just keep showing all of them? Continuous spotlight reaction. Like, I really need to see Spike Lee celebrating, or Tracy Morgan, or any of these other cats. And like, why? It's whether it's a celebrity or not. Now, celebrities annoy me more, but when I'm watching a college football game on a Saturday, I don't need the reaction shot on that either. The frequent cutaways, and it's just like the early television producers and directors, this is what they did. And everyone just copies the early people in television. They do the same thing. So, well, this is how we did it back in the day. We had fan reaction shots. Listen, you cut away. It's excessive. It's unnecessary. It takes away from the broadcast. And you keep cutting away to these reaction shots. And does anyone need to see someone else reacting to something that we can't see because we're seeing them react to what they're looking at, but we can't see it, but they're actually there? It's like, how dumb is this? Dumb. Seriously. And at very least, diversify your crowd reaction shots. I get it. You're star effers. I understand. You don't need to fixate on the celebrities. We know they're there. Okay, great. They got free tickets. Wonderful. Outstanding. Many of them haven't done anything entertaining in years anyway. They're living off what they did 30 years ago or 20 years ago.